Peace. Get some people in here, speaking, building, see what's going on. All right. There's a lot to build on, I would hope. Born W3. Okay, Venezuela. That's peace. That's peace. All right. Any questions that you have? Anything that you want to ask? All right. Oh, indeed, indeed. Yes. Yes. Of course I do. Of course I remember Zer 7. All right. 793rd piece. Okay. All right. That's good brothers to be connected to. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, self-born God. So I don't know what to say about that. Weird phrase, you know? It is a weird phrase. Yeah, yeah. Expound, please. Yes. If you explain what that would mean, then I could give my thought on it, you know? Like, you know? All right. Wise you, peace. See you mixed up in there. Okay, you said I received knowledge of self here in Venezuela. I spoke with some gods born in Mecca. He told me I was self-born because I'd never been in the U.S. And we still managed to receive and understand science. Yeah, I don't. Who told you that though? Do you know who told you that? I find it an awkward phrase for a lot of reasons. You know. Right, right. You know, infinite mind, right? Are you linked with infinite mind, right? Black Sun Allah out where in Mecca or Alabama? I think that's yeah. Okay, okay. All right. I don't bear witness to the term self-born. I don't know who said that to you. Okay. Um. Okay. I don't know Black Universal Son, but I don't know who said self-born to you. It doesn't matter because I don't agree with it. Um. It's an incomplete. It's funny we're using the word born, but I find it to be an incomplete phrase because um, when you not no, you're not born. Think of the opposite of that. Okay, so somebody gets the knowledge or is interested in the knowledge, and they go to Mecca to get the knowledge, right? They go to Harlem, New York City to get the knowledge, and then they get the knowledge. So now they are not self-born, then someone else born them. Who born them? See? And the truth is that you're not self-born. It implies that like you had to do something by yourself that normally wouldn't get done or can't be done. And the truth is that everybody that gets knowledge of self is essentially doing it by themselves. You know what I mean? It is certainly a self-chosen thing, and that phrase takes away from the entire essence of it, though. Like I don't want to be too insulting because I don't know who said that. I'd love to disagree with them and show them why that's really kind of a misleading phrase to to their face, as opposed to right. Quartiz, peace. I taught many students. I've taught many students online. I've taught them from faraway nations before there was internet. Through letter, I've taught brothers in jail that I've never met through letters. People through the internet before there was this, what we have here. Before Zoom and before WhatsApp and things like that. I would never distinguish between them and say that they were self-born gods. That's a really, really it's a really terrible phrase. It doesn't say anything of what's meant to be said there. I don't, and I don't know if you got your name, if you chose that Born W Farid, Farad, the way you're spelling it here, or if in your righteous name you put born in it because of that. Everybody borns himself. You know what I mean? You decide to come into this knowledge and this reality and stuff. It's not, that doesn't make any sense, self-born gods. Because when people go to Mecca, what does that mean? And let's say if someone that is official is out in a different place other than Mecca, is that not official? Because I know many gods that are official that they're there. What I'm saying is, see, born, like, for us, you can't say that. We're universal family. I do think we were self-born. Conditions here are not the same as in the U.S. It's not your travels. It's not your travels being unique. Okay? The point is, though, is that if you call yourself self-born, then that means someone else means that they weren't and they had their hand held. We could make any kind of argument that someone as yourself or brothers as yourself out in another country have a greater difficulty to get this knowledge. I mean, that's pretty much obvious in many cases, though, right? That's not something that I'm even disputing right now. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But if you're self-born, then what is another brother that lives in the heart of Medina, right on Bed-Stuy, and someone gives him the knowledge? That's not Mecca, but it's still Brooklyn. Does that count? And then if someone gets the knowledge and gets and goes to a law school of Mecca, then what is he? What word would he be if he's not self-born? What, the way you're using it, what would it be the opposite of that? That means that he's made by someone else. You don't have it. You don't have a term now. It does make a difference here, right? Because you're asking me this, though, in my classroom, okay? So whether you log off or whether it's not a big deal to you, though, I'm going to tell you that you're using a wrong phrase, and whoever told you that should contact me on why they made such a pitiful phrase. It's an incorrect phrase, because then what is it called? Those who go get the knowledge. Okay. I wasn't brought. People that go to Mecca, they might be brought there, but other people find it. So what do you call them? You know, like your travels are different, but that's not correct terminology for that. Because again, if you are self-born because you got it and no one is around you, I'm sorry, that's not, you're not even special in that. You're not even special in that though. You know, a lot of my brothers out in Latin America, you all getting the knowledge and stuff though. You're not the first out of country to get the knowledge. You know what I mean? So, and nobody outside of this country is self-born. That means that you found it yourself. That's what that means. That means you found it yourself, and it even implies more because then you don't understand what the word born means. You know what I mean? Self-born, if we're talking born mathematics, means that you birthed yourself. Every single original man, though, birthed themselves. Every single original man comes from the mind. He made that choice to be the true and living. That implies that anyone else that was near or supposedly has an easier time of it, which I disagree with that too, has a easier time getting the knowledge and stuff, right? Is somehow made by someone else. See, you have no term for the opposite. You know what I'm saying? You can't make a term that is on one spectrum to describe your spectrum, right? You're on this side of experience, and you're using a term to describe your unique experience as opposed to this side, right? That's what I'm saying. This is you. You have an experience that is completely different than the majority of people that get the knowledge. So the term that you're using is in contrast. It's made to be different, literally an opposite. What's the opposite of self-born? Okay, because we deal with mathematics, so you just made an incomplete equation. What's the opposite of self-born? And I don't know if you can answer that because you embrace the term because you want to embrace your unique reality of how you got it. But I've taught many out of the country, and I would never call them that, because self-born means, it doesn't mean that someone that your trial was harder. It implies that somebody had it, that everybody that has it here in America, especially in Manhattan or the Brooklyn, is walked into the knowledge and given it automatically. That's not how it goes. That's absolutely not how it goes. You know, some people, it's easier to get introduced to it. I know, because I'm from a part of Brooklyn where it's very difficult to get it. You know what I mean? Where it was extreme, it was not there. Okay. When I heard about it, I wasn't where I was from, Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I wasn't there. I was literally in Manhattan, regularly going to school. And the ventures I did in hip hop put me in different places, and that's how I got the knowledge. And eventually, Day Sun is the one that brought me to Allah School of Mecca, because those ventures in hip hop led me to him. Right? So it's very important that when you use supreme math, right, that you understand what the word means, though. The word born means to what I call elevated fulfillment. If something is born, right, then that means that it is completed within supreme mathematics, supremely done. That means it was created from the mind. If you say you're self-born, right, it doesn't really honor your teachers very much, because it implies that you're autodidact, which is really the kind of word you're going for here, right? Now, I don't know your particular journey, but most people that get the knowledge that are from other countries, they're not autodidacts to the knowledge. In other words, they didn't just figure this out and say, oh, wait, the black man is God. Oh, there happens to be people that think that too over there. Let me go talk to them. That's not how it is. They're from other countries and then learn about us over here, and they're just far away. That's totally different, you know? Because if we take another synonym, a regular English synonym, to replace born, and just deal with born like a regular word, not supreme mathematics word, we'll say self-made gods. And which God isn't self-made? Which one didn't make themselves? So that's why it's implying like the others are led, you know, like the phrase is incomplete. It's a contrast term, and you didn't give the other one. You know what I mean? right? It's like if someone said that we're the sad bunch, it implies that everybody else is maybe happy, or so and most of America, for a doesn't have gods. You know what I'm saying? Most of America, in fact, many of the students on this in in this chat, they don't have any gods out. They might be stuck in places. In fact, you were saying you were learning from a god in Alabama. I doubt there's many people there too. And that's probably where he came with that phrase, and it's totally incomplete. You know what I'm saying? It's totally incomplete. Let me tell you something about the teaching too, right? Let me tell you something about the teaching. I explained this last week with about tree, the person's tree, what roots them back to Allah the Father, back to the firstborn, back to Allah the Father, right? Like a kung fu lineage. When you go back, right? You may learn things that have no tree to them, but you got this knowledge, right? Like a lot of good brothers and that are students of mine now, they don't have that tree, and they come to me, and I either teach them directly, or I solidify their tree by saying that what they have is correct, or near correct, and anything that's missing, add on to them, so that way the connection that they needed from Mecca, that missing information that is crucial, they get that. The truth is that in that sense, once you are linked to someone that is in this lineage, then you're already in Mecca. Making that physical Hajj and stuff like that, man, that is religion, man. That is religion. There was a reason that Elijah brought it here to the United States of America. He didn't bring it to the Americas, right? He didn't bring it to Canada. He brought it to the United States of America, to particular cities. And he branched it off to the major cities here, right? It's extending outwardly because of that strategy. Because Allah the Father came out and he taught in the root, Mecca. And it expanded to all of the artists, to all of the builders, to all of the teachers, in every vocation that you could think of, to spread it out, Now, the perspective that you have, Born Free, is very, very, very crucial. You understand? And I actually think that it's a disservice to the unique reality that you're dealing with, right? To describe it in that fashion, right? And that's also another thing, right, King Kamal? I don't want people to embrace the fact that that's almost like an embracing the fact that of a stigma that they are treeless, by now saying they're self-born, and then now it even becomes, it's like an insult on top of an insult, technically, and that's why I can't really go with that. Every single man that chooses to be the true and living God and is righteous in his endeavors, and shows and proves by creating a new world that is righteous, creating things, building. And mind you, you see what I said? I didn't say teaching first. I said creating, right? And then teaching this truth as best as they could. That's what makes them born. They born themselves in the mind. And I'm telling you that, Born, Fareed, you don't have many people over there. You haven't are you writing down a journal about how you got this knowledge? Because then when you do that, you're going to see that, wait a minute, to say you're self-born implies that you're saying that you're self-made, like you made yourself. You didn't pick out this knowledge. You didn't figure this out. You know what I'm saying? You realize some truths, though, and other people got you to this knowledge, The truth is that there's all types of information that get us there, Let's be honest, though. If there was a brother out there that never heard about this nation, and he said, yo, you Sunez, I heard about you. I had thought that the black man was God a long time ago, and here's some scientific equations I made up to show and prove the black man is God. I don't know nothing about your mathematics or anything, but this is what I got. Maybe I would say he's self-born. But not in this nation, man. If you build with somebody and you're in the nation, like if you got knowledge yourself as we teaching it, as we got it, and you're in this nation, you're not self-born. You know what I'm saying? Because we all are. Now, as far as your particular experience, it is unique, but it isn't as it is more. It might be in the stage of extremity, but it isn't as unique as as you're saying. You know, and I'm saying that from teaching people out in Germany, teaching people out in Britain, teaching people out in all types of places and stuff, along with South America and then other states. And I said, like, even a person like me, that's just a part, that's from part of Brooklyn where it really wasn't at. That puts me in almost the same situation. If you know the segregation of 80s Brooklyn, you know, a lot of ideas didn't always proliferate. You know, when they did, they proliferated improperly, you know, which would be my case, though. Not blaming anybody that was proliferating, because that also counts as me hearing it wrong and not really understanding it correctly, you know? Right? So all of that counts, you know, all that counts. Right? I say, oh, it wasn't in Sunset because the Puerto Ricans, they didn't really deal with it, right? But we were seeing God bodies as enemies, or that's what we were told, whether we were in the street or we were just, you know, kids in the block. So that's other things similar to this, nieta, similar to this king, similar, you know. So we didn't know, but so that's a fault on those who are teaching. Whether they're to blame or not, they couldn't get it out there right. To me, people like me, but also myself, though, who wasn't really listening properly at the time, right? And when I really started to listen, though, this is me personally, when I really started to listen to things very clearly, is when I started to learn about my Puerto Rican heritage and the depth of it. Literally, its originality, as in original genetics, the depth of the black diaspora as I belong to it. You know what I mean? And then the depth of song, because I became, you know, a lot of the reason why I think I'm a successful music journalist is because the beginnings of my journey into hip hop as a journalist were literally to personally excavate, get in those lyrics to try to understand what they mean, not so I could tell people about it, but so that I could live with greater insight, because I respected, as a young man, as a teenager into a young man, I really respected the experiences that these brothers had that I didn't have. You know what I'm saying? And still could still see that righteousness was a way. See, righteousness was a way for me, even as a young man, because that's what I was taught, and I adhered to it. I didn't ignore my parents with that. In fact, I went to extremes with it that they didn't even want me to go. But that they thought were naive, better said, right? But at the same time, once that happened, and I start listening, then I start to see, well, where is the source for this? You know, why does he say this? Why does he say that? You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. You know, King, you said, Allah is God on the earth and the heavens above, meaning we, the original man, are Allah in the mind and body, the supreme domain of the universe, the supreme being with good orderly direction. Indeed. And that means that we everywhere, you know what I'm saying? And I want to get to everybody, D Moore, I don't know if I'm saying that right, 76, peace. Never seen you in here. That is you know, very important. You know what I mean? That we all born ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Right? We all born ourselves. There's a lot of good brothers on here. You know, he's been on here for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Long time. And you know, as a segue, See, I'm doing these classes at my home though, because I've been adjusting. How can I get the best type of class that I've always had and be more efficient? And I felt that over the last, because of Corona and the way the changing world, that's good. Um, the changing world. Um, I felt like when I was going to a law school in Mecca, students weren't coming. And then now we weren't really getting new students in the community. So I want to make it where I could get to that community earlier, which probably be a change. And what I'm going to do is this, right? And I'm going to keep explaining it for a long time. October 7th, I'm going to be at a law school in Mecca. I'm going to be teaching at a law school in Mecca. I'm going to be there at 5 o'clock. I'll be streaming from here as I do now. The difference is I'm going to be teaching from 5 to 8, but only 5 to 8 if I have students in the classroom by 7 o'clock. If I don't have students by 7 o'clock, right? This is what I'm going to do, because I feel like by 7 o'clock, because of the way situations are now, I'm not getting young to come after those hours. I might get older people and stuff, but I'm going to start teaching from 5 to 7. If I have students in the classroom, and of course you guys have been consistent, I always get somebody here, I will continue to teach until 8, and then I will leave, as I always do, on time. If I don't get any students in the classroom by 7, then I will end the class at 7, and during the weekend or somewhere else, I will do a bonus hour where I might not, because it's only an hour, I'll answer some of the questions here, but I'm going to be going into a specific topic just specifically online. I go through, if I finish it before the class ends, all of the questions that are thrown on there. So it's fine to throw anything that you want on there, or to continue something that you wanted. And maybe I might continue stuff that I was going into. But I'm going to do it like that because it becomes easier for me, because I have to travel a long distance and I don't want to waste time. I want everything to be of value. Okay. And making my students that arrive into the classroom on time so that they could get useful material is going to be has been a little bit of a problem. So if it's too early for some that got used to this time here online here, it doesn't matter, because no offense, I didn't think about you all, because you're going to be able to watch this again if you miss it. You know what I mean? And the bonus time, I don't know when the bonus time will be, because I have my children and everything. So it'll just be a quick hour when I do stuff. Understand that I do a lot of things that are at odd hours. When I do DJ Toshi's Classic Stone Radio, we have to get the artist established that we're going to interview. Then I have to start research. Then if I start early, what happens is that I end up with a lot of prep interviews and nothing happening. That wastes time. So I have to start prepping the minute that we're confirmed. So then I don't know when that would happen, and I have to find time to research. I have to do research for my own show that's every Monday, right? My Power Right show. Aside from having children, I also have a lot of projects that I work on. You know what I mean? So they take a lot of investment. You know what I mean? And aside for the freelance work that I get into, you know, for those that don't know too, because I throw this out there, but I have to throw this out there officially on the internet. I do much of my work is in freelance writing and editing. So if anybody's interested in editing anything, you know, books, papers, essays, things like that, I do all of that. Okay. I do all of that. All right. And I have rates for everything. Okay. Copy editing, anything like that. You know what I mean? All right. So that's what I do. So I have to time things very carefully. And that's why if I have to do the bonus hour, like nobody came into law school by 7 o'clock, or whoever came already left, then I go, that bonus hour is going to be whenever. So it's going to be maybe a time that not everyone can tune in and interact with me, it is going to be like an added plus lesson. I'm going to literally take plus lessons and builds that I have, and I'm going to expound on them. I might pick some degrees and expound on them and just give you a detailed thing. In the summary of the class setting, it's going to be there where that's what it is, so you'll know what it is when I do the bonus thing. Because I was doing that for all the classes early on, but it takes a lot of work to try to like even brief transcribe things. And I hate transcribing, even though I do that for my editing service. So if you pay me, I transcribe. But if I have to transcribe on my own, it's very tedious. But I do that too, So all in all, though, we'll get like everything set. Going back to these things you said, Born for Read. You said you understand. That's good. That's good. Maybe you have time. I could text you at Instagram, so I could really build my point right. That's fine. We can definitely build. My Instagram is Sunez, so just look up Sunez. That's all you gotta do is look up Sunez. Okay. Okay. Sunez7 is the YouTube. Sunez7 is the Twitter, right? But the Instagram is just Sunez, right? So definitely you build there, and could hear your point though, because I know that there's something unique that you're trying to describe of your reality, which I find is wonderful. But when you use supreme mathematics and words in the alphabet, like our dialect, make sure that you do it right and exact, because then it actually miscategorizes everyone else. When you felt you categorized yourself properly, you ended up miscategorizing everyone else because other people aren't handheld into it or forced into it. You know what I mean? Right? Right. That's why we use the term enlightener, because enlightener just lights the path. That's what knowledge me used to always say. That's why I love that word. And it's a fancy word. So I like it. You know what I mean? I like good, nice, fancy words. You know what I mean? That's what I love as a writer. But that's piece that you understand my point though. You got it sufficiently, and so it's good. Like you coming into this, I want you to blend with everybody else. A lot of people, they don't do good. One of the biggest problems in our nation, I said this for years and years. I've been saying this probably for the whole 2010s, that one of the biggest problems that we will have though is not, white man, this way, whatever, you know what I mean? Like what we're learning now though is that all of that white man stuff, they're going after everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you're seeing right-wing people saying the right things, because now they go after white people too. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. You know what I mean? But us as a nation of original people, we have very different. Our 9,000 miles that we have to swim to get to this knowledge is always different. That's why I call it the 9,000 miles, like in the 1 to 36. You know what I mean? And everybody's 9,000 miles is different. Some people seem really hard, and some people seem really easy, but you don't always know. Like some people go, look, it was easy. I used to always think this too. Like, and it's not true. I had a very unique situation. Being in a blind spot in Medina. It's like a blind spot. Because I'm a writer, I call it the lettered lung. You know what I'm saying? It's got holes in it though. But I try to letter it together. But there was very little breath of the knowledge over there. It was a lettered lung. It was missing things that I hope I wrote into. But my situation becomes unique and sometimes harder because I had to go into Mecca and demand I get the knowledge. So I had to go into Mecca, and many people that thought that maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I won't stick around, or maybe I could be God, but in a lesser subservient role and not really build it to school like this, on this level, this and that. There's all types of things, right? And I wasn't having none of that shit, right? And yet I was willing to prove and earn each part of it. So situation is unique and could be seen as very difficult. But other people that get it, let's say they get it right because they live on 125th Street and they're right by 126th Street. That doesn't mean anything. If you've ever been around and if you've ever lived in Harlem, because man, when I got the knowledge, those first 10 years, I lived in Harlem. I didn't have a residence there, but my first daughter's mother lived in Harlem. I was always in Harlem every day. I lived in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I lived there. You know what I'm saying? And the to live in Harlem and have the knowledge, don't think it's that easy. It's actually harder, you know, because you don't know if you don't have the time to self-reflect and say, listen, is this really true? Do I have the chance to educate? I like a style of education, if you notice, for those that have been building with me and listening to these classes, I have a style of education that tries to that asks you to develop questions that try to disprove the truths that we were showing. And in that, which is to me is the more useful scientific method, and you come up with those ideas. The reality of living around so many powerful individuals is that they have the answer for everything. And even if they try to keep it from you, being around so many sharp minds, the gods, you're going to hear things, and you don't have a time to develop, you know. And I think that's where that self-born thing comes from, because you don't, if you get it and you're around the gods all the time, you need more alone time so that you develop your own insights, and that doesn't always happen. And that's why you could always fall victim to have more followers with the knowledge and things like that, you know what I mean? And they're just, and the realness, we're the coolest on the planet. So to roll with the gods is like, you know, crazy. You know what I mean? Now, let's keep it real. When I got knowledge, you know, like you guys all tune into Dark Him, I was, you know, me and Day-Sun would go in there, and Day-Sun was cool enough. And I never met nobody like him, and I still haven't. And I'll dare to say that you can't meet a person like Day-Sun. That's how unique he is. And some of the coolest people, Roman Dark Kim, Saquon, all these cool people, you know what I'm saying? Just on that level, though, that makes you want to believe them instead of like going home and really researching. It's a problem. It's a problem. And that's different experiences that people that are around the knowledge daily have that a lot of others don't, you know? And they might click up and stuff and instead be clicking up and just doing the duty of the civilized instead of really taking note and finding. I don't think that's the first step. The real step of a student when they get the knowledge, though, and even after they knowledge 120, is to find out who they truly are as a creator and what are they going to create and build, and then start to teach as they go along deliberately. You see, what I do is very deliberate. You see? And they say, well, Sunez, you know, you got knowledge officially in 1999. You started teaching in 2000. I mean, that is far from taking time. What a lot of people don't know is that if I was around a law school in Mecca every single day, that 1999, that was the day. I'm not like a regular kid. I'm a writer. That means that every other moment that I'm not with the gods, I'm alone. I'm focusing. I'm reading. I'm writing. I'm in the laboratory. People don't really understand the amount of laboratory hours of that my life is spent in. You know what I mean? So, you know, RZA's greatest works came in all those years he was stuck in the lab making all those albums, right? In my own mind, though, and when he talks about it in the Dao Wu that he, you know, and he talks that he had to go out and explore, and that's what birthed that Bobby Digital persona. I don't have no desire for the Bobby Digital persona. I'm in love with that massive amount of time in the laboratory, and then taking my creations and explore. I want to explore the world after I've made my creations, but as myself with the intensity of my creations. See, one thing, as a side note for those that know this RZA Bobby Digital thing, I think that RZA's potency as far as his creative mind and his creations was so intense that he may have even felt awkward going out into the world. And so he develops a persona that is more akin to what the people are normally doing. And that's something that I understand, but I didn't mind. I didn't mind. So I wouldn't. And I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? It just isn't me. You know? Whatever performance nature I have in my creative self is not built for that. You know, it's not built for a more frivolous character, you know, or you know, not to insult it, but you know, a more party style, groovy, you know, palatable. There's a good word, palatable character. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I find that concept intriguing. I've always have. One day, you know what I mean? I'll have to have that build with RZA on this. You know what I mean? But take note. You know, this is why I tell you to write a journal, because the experiences that you have, don't get it twisted. Like, if you think the knowledge you stumbled into it and you didn't really work hard to go get it, trust me, you will have to work hard once you get it. And it may be even more difficult than someone like Born, you know, W. Farid, who's out there in Venezuela, who has to constantly work hard to be tapped in, you know? Right? So everybody has their own unique realities, and I think it's wonderful. You know, I think it's wonderful. But let me see what else said here. King, does a person's lessons change if they're from another country? No, it doesn't, King. But it changes if they have different languages. You know, like the intricacies of the language. That's why it's real important that someone that has a mastery of 120 and an equal mastery of the language, um, to translate it, because they're not basic translations. You know what I mean? Even in Spanish, what would seem simple, it's not. So, you know, it deserves a see, to me, if you speak Spanish and you want 120 in Spanish, though, go to Infinite Mind. And I'm saying that because not only does he have a great understanding, though, I know the trees from, because I taught him. I gave him the knowledge. So I know the tree is official, and his understanding and how he's applying it, though, is just on another level. Things that I could not do, you know? All right. Born for, you said, being self-born means I got everything on my own way, and that's not true. We all study a lot of science. Here's the thing: what I'm trying to say, Born Free, is just that it's an incorrect term. It's an incorrect term because self-born doesn't have a contrast to it. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to say you taught yourself, then you would just say you're self-taught. You wouldn't say self-born, because born means that you became the true and living God by yourself, but you got this knowledge, and that was gotten somewhere. So wherever you heard it and wherever you got it is because of that person that threw it out there. You know, that's your connection. It seems like a faint connection, and often a very disconnected connection, you know, with very little connection daily, but it's there. You know what I'm saying? It's there. And the problem is that it doesn't have a contrast, though. So someone that is around the knowledge, like right across the street from Mecca, like I said, what do you call them? You know, um, Mecca born. That it's awkward because it implies like that someone else took him in and born him. Like, it's not. You know what I mean? Remember, Allah called the firstborn. They're the firstborn, but they're not the firstborn. They're his firstborn that he taught him, but they're not born because he walked them into being God. They're firstborn because they saw themselves and became born. He's the first one to teach them, but he didn't make them be God. And that's a confusion that goes along with that. He's the first, he's the one that taught them first. Those are the first that he taught, the firstborn. But when you say firstborn, it's not because he's they're the first ones that he made be God. No, they're the first ones he taught, and they're the first ones that chose to be God. You don't think you think that there's other people that he gave this knowledge to and they didn't become the God. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't first nine, first, it doesn't work that way. And if it, whether it did or not, it's really irrelevant. You know, now the way of connecting is the physical, you know what I mean? But what about people in other states? Not everybody from out of state, out of New York City comes over here. You know what I'm saying? So that's not, you just have to be connected to a tree. Connecting yourself to the tree is what counts, especially as we go worldwide. If you got this knowledge right and exact and you spend your time to get tapped in, yes, you have a more power will generate from you because you have worked harder to get it right and exact. It may give you power that other people that have it respectively around Mecca, they might not be as sharp as you because of all the work you put in. But that's work that you put in, and that's real. Allah will, peace. Okay, I'm glad that's a good time. Nah, Allah will. That's cartoon stuff. We can't genderize like that. You know what I mean? The true and living God is the peace with the magnetic. You know what I'm saying? Right? But all human bodies have the electric charge. That's a chi. You know what I mean? So yeah, no. King, you said power is force of creative energy. Power can be mental or physical strength or the ability to do act or influence. Indeed, indeed. Well, maybe that's not where you're gonna find a difference. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're asking what's the difference between let's say, electricity, what the bioelectricity, right? What Dr. Yang Ming calls the bioelectricity, which would be the chi within the man and the woman, though. It pretty much works the same. It's just different chi, different levels of chi. And let's say the chi energy in the Chinese, they have different types of names for all levels of chi. And even women have different types of chi because they have different body systems. You know what I'm saying? And they can hold the life in them, right, and develop it. So that produces a different chi as well. So you know what I mean? So just it's really not something that we have to always find a difference for. You know what I'm saying? Right? And we talk about the magnetic. You know what I'm saying? If we draw up the earth, then we're the piece with the magnetic, right? But the earth can also create things as well, right? She could create works, she could create things, she could create, right? Then she would have magnetic too. You know what I'm saying? It's more like that yin and the yin and yang, right? Her yin has some yang in it. You know what I'm saying? And the transgender is something totally different. You know what I'm saying? Right? And that's true. That's true. Right? I'm trying to read through these because I feel like this is kind of I can imagine King building with Rizzo. Yeah, definitely. A very, great mind, great thinker. That's peace. That's peace. Yeah, gotta keep those journals going. Okay. I'm trying to see here where this attraction and all that stuff, where it all went, because I feel like I answered it. I don't, you know, and draw up is attracting. You know what I mean? What's the degree about? The build degree in the 1 to 40 is about gravitation. You know, it's the heat of the environment that causes that cloud to be developed itself. The entire existence of the cloud is because of the heat of the sun and the gravitation that is caused. Right? King said in Rakim's book, Sadatighi, oh, very good example. I already know what you're going to say. He talks about taking his brother, Hakim's lesson student, and knowledge it that way because he felt he didn't want someone over his shoulder and wants to take his time alone with the studies. He still had to connect with a teacher later. Right. I think this, though, the problem I had with Rakim and what he said with his book is that I totally disagree with his strategy there. It's like he didn't want people to tell him what it was. So he kind of eliminated this elder concept. You know, so it shows me that he got it from peers and he didn't realize that this nation is built of elders and it's the elder that he had to find. That's why a lot of things that Rakim will get so many things right because he's such a genius mind. And then some of the things in the knowledge he'll get totally wrong or sound mysterious. And that's because he didn't build with the elders when he was first getting that. You know what I'm saying? Look at the difference with the elders and how strong you could be, because look at Rizza, who's right there, freedom. You know what I mean? You need that elder because you need that specific experience. These are not things you can research in a book. So that means that you need an individual to take you through them. Okay, there are phrases in there that still are not found in books. You know, and deliberately, I edited all the worthwhile books. And trust me, a lot of those things that we're supposed to learn, no, we didn't put them in there. You know, Starmail never intended and didn't put them in there. You're supposed to come get that. You know what I'm saying? Right? Knowledge of self worked on with Supreme. No, we didn't put that in there. You're supposed to go get that yourself. In fact, one of Supreme's directives was to make the book much simpler, you know, which, you know, I'm the last guy to do that. You know, I always like, I like throwing in something hard and everything. You know, I feel like it gives it repeat value. You know what I mean? So we disagreed there, but he was the top editor. And so simplicity for him, though. So that means that there was a lot of things that certainly you cannot get from the books. You know what I mean? Right? No. See, we both have magnetic power, Allah will. That doesn't mean that we both have it the same. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I want to say that the magnetic power of God is greater than Earth, not because it isn't. We could find things that we are. God initiates. You know what I'm saying? When we look at things, though, on the most highest level, we initiate, right? And they reflect and manifest. But once we are in tandem with something, they are the ones that complete it. So to say that one is greater, a lot of times it takes away the relevance of what we're talking about. You know, it's almost like saying, like I always say, the limbs, like the arms are weaker, you know, but what are you doing with, there's how many things can you do with your hands that you can't do with your legs, you know? So it's important, you know, right? Because in this case, 6 is not a limitation. Okay. It's a full wide scope of everything that is possible within that realm. It's like this thing. Look at it like this. What I'm trying to say. I'm paraphrasing here, but Noam Chomsky has this, you know, Noam Chomsky is one of the great authors and thinkers of political thinkers, you know, revolutionary political thinkers about this process exposing. He has a lot of great books. His thoughts on anarchism are intriguing, right? A totally different history that he shows you about these words and these histories. Just a great writer, but he's also a linguist. And he talks about this concept, and he gets it from the philosopher Humboldt and expounds on it a lot, that the reason that we are the reason that language, and I'm going to extend this outwardly in a minute, the reason that language is such a free creation is because it has its own set laws. In other words, you've got to use those letters. Like we've seen all the slang in the world, right? We talk about sisters on the Wu-Tang tip. Ray has like some of the greatest slang I've ever heard. And some of the greatest slang by taking regular words and using it at different ways and different moments. And you could spell it however you want, but he's not really making up new letters into the spelling. So he doesn't have like a 27th letter, a 30th letter, or anything like that. You know what I mean? He's devising these combinations because he's limited by the language. And it comes out so it also in the form he's using is limited by the need to rhyme it rhythmically, right? Because some people we know they can rhyme and it's not rhythmic at all, right? We just find a rhyme somewhere at the end of something. But this is something that Noam Chomsky talks about, this idea of the creative process, the reality of the creation process needs some type of finite parameter. And this is something I say all the time. When people ask me that when the original man is infinite mind in a finite body, that's what makes us the true and living God, because we are in all dimensions. You know what I'm saying? The mystery God, if you know the mystery God, their mystery God is not in the dimension of the finite world, you know, but it is us creating all this though within all the realms, and that finite reality is the parameters that allow us to be so creative, you know. So looking at things like the woman is limited and she's stuck at 6, and it's not really a limitation, it's the parameters by which she's going to build. You know what I'm saying? Just like we have our own parameters that seem limiting for us, but that's how we infinitely build. You know what I mean? Right? We could say that for ourselves, though. Like we say, look, man's body is so much simpler and less complex than the woman. And yet there are so many things that we can do, right? Just like the sun seems like a simple star, right? So, you know, it's vantage points of how you look at things, you know, right? Okay. Guys, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, knowledge allows us saying 7 is greater than 6. Yeah, I feel like Allah will. I like the questions you're trying to make. I think this is an example of what I need when I tell students, and I never told you this because, you know, if you don't email me and I don't talk to you outside of this classroom session, you're not technically like an official student of mine. You know what I'm saying? You're just attending the classes, which is peace. You know what I mean? But a student under the study with me is a little different. And writing in the journal is how you develop that. You're trying to get in a question, but you're fishing here. And that's why you need to write you have to have a journal where you write your ideas and you posit ideas. You just throw things out, you know, because I feel like there's a good answer there, but then some of the questions are so simple and then others are incomplete. So like when you say we both have the same magnetic power, we obviously don't have the same magnetic power. You know what I mean? We have different physical structures, you know? Now, when you go, what qualities of God permits it to be more than the 6? That is a good question. First off, it's because we initiate. All right. And a lot of people don't understand that when you look at the universe, and we look at even the world today, a lot of people will dismiss it and say, this whole world exists the way it does is because man has oppressed woman the whole time. That's a real cop-out. You know what I'm saying? That's a real cop-out because ancient civilizations were very matrilineal and still things were being led by the original man. You know what I mean? And when I say lead, I don't mean you come here, follow this, that. I'm talking about led, like being the best knower. You know what I'm saying? Being the best knower, meaning the one that knew, all of these things. These have consistently been the original man. Also, in the physical, in the original man's body, we are the one that initiates all life. Okay, and we're able to take all of the DNA and replicate it though, and hold it within us though. At any moment, we could disperse that, just to, without getting explicit. You know what I mean? Whereas all of the DNA that a woman has though, they have to take months to nurture what we gave in order to do that. You see? So that means that the way we build is going to be more concentrated. It is going to be more intense. And I'm not saying as an individual to individual. I'm saying as a reality. And this reality is very difficult to trace though, because you don't see the original man with knowledge of self on a large scale. You don't see the original woman with a knowledge of herself on a large scale. Quatis, you said knowledge, equality, all being born to God. To examine knowledge, one's ability to accurately measure equality. Interesting. One state of being, God. One's ability to accurately measure one state of being. Interesting. Looking at what tools you have to be able to positively affect or improve yourself. Right? The acknowledging your equality, the accurate measure of self, the proper humility. Right? So acknowledging my own equality, Quatis continues, is recognizing the opportunities to change my reality. This new state of being, that new, different, better version of yourself with clear, strong vision. It's good stuff, Quatis. Good stuff, as always, though. Always. You better memorize all that stuff. LT, that's interesting. That Rakim you said Rakim definitely told me some things that we do not teach in the 5% Nation, and none of the 5% have ever said those things to me. That's what happens when you do it by yourself, you know. And again, these are arcane teachings, meaning that they have meanings that have to be fished out and can't just be looked up simply, you know. You need that elder guidance, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, it's like learning the martial art with somebody who hasn't really learned it from an elder. Like you're gonna learn shit. You're not gonna learn shit. Right? Knowledge Allah. Man and woman both have power, but we're operating in two different frequencies with the active principle. She's the receptive principle. Right. There is the difference. Well put, knowledge Allah. Well put. Very simple. Okay. What about Big Daddy Kane? He's another guy I saw come perform in Chicago. Had the universe. Isn't he from Medina? Yes, he is from Medina. Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I gotta fix that because I just copied and pasted. Yeah, I gotta fix that because I just copied. I'm gonna fix that. I have to fix that. You know, I was in such a rush to get this on that I left it wrong like that. So maybe I could fix it now. Right? Let's see. Maybe I can get into the YouTube studio while I'm doing this. You know? But I just copied and pasted, and then for some reason, I know what distracted me. But nevertheless, though. All right. Should be fixed now. All right. Let's see if it's fixed. Yeah, it's fixed now. So, oh, wow. Is that why I just looked? I have a dislike. You know, who's the who's the hater? Who's the hater that disliked this? How could you dislike this though? You know what I'm saying? Right? Maybe that's that one person that's mad I'm not in Mecca. I don't know. I don't know. You know, is it because you thought I wasn't wearing polo? Woo! You're wrong about that. This polo right here. You know what I mean? Oh wait, the undershirt. Wait a minute. Oh wait, polo sport. Okay, got enough polo on. You know, but yes, thank you for that though, LT. Let me know though. I fixed it. So if you guys refresh, it'll be correct and stuff. Right? Rome, peace. How you doing though? Okay, real quick thought. I usually wait for hip hop stuff at the end, but AZ is, man, he's some MC. You know what I'm saying? I think that here's why I don't like Do or Die as a sequel. Unlike Cuban Links, it doesn't really have a theme that is unique among his albums. I think most of every AZ album is very, very good, a very high level. And his only mistakes are when he tries to make singles that will play on the radio that refuse to play him because he doesn't have the payola connections to get any of that played anyway, like that consistently, right? Which means that money. But AZ, it's just a joy to hear him rhyme anew. I mean, like he had some great albums in the 2000s, and people act like he just dropped off after 1998 after his second album. Like he, even when people were making lackluster albums, his albums still have a lot of quality to them. You know what I'm saying? Um, Again, like they always have throwaways. My problem with AZ is the same problem in a different style that I have with the Nas King Disease albums. They're designed to have like small tinges of crossover in the vegetables. In salsa music, the vegetables are the small percussion instruments, the maracas, the guiro, you know what I mean, things like that, right? To me, the vegetables are in a hip hop song are like the hi hats, the kind of synth add-ons, these little things that make the songs more pop, you know. And with King's Disease and King's Disease 2, Hit Boy, he has a decent funk melody arsenal, for someone that's playing his own stuff, even though it's very rudimentary. You know what I mean? For the vibe that King Disease 2 have, I'd rather somebody just mine the entire Maze featuring Frankie Beverly catalog and get samples out of that. I'd love the album so much better if you just sample everything out of Maze discography. It would be a much liver album and sound iller to me, because that's, if you listen to Maze's feat with Frankie Beverly, that's exactly the sound that KD2 has, and or goes for. But the little vegetables, the little pop vegetables that annoy and embarrass me when I listen to King Disease 2 are of this era. The problem with AZ's Do or Die 2 is that the vegetables that he throws in pop, they're still from the 2000s, like, the type of R&B hooks, you know what I'm saying? Let me see if I, that they don't sound whack, but they're always a little outdated. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, yeah, I'll give you an example here since we're talking about this. I'll give you a little, The Wheel, Jaheim, not a bad song, but it sounds outdated. The Ritual, Alchemist made a great beat for that. That's totally like now, hardcore now, no pop stuff in it. It's incredible what Alchemist is doing the last 10 plus years in reaching that next level of greatness. And Conway is dope, right? And hope, you could tell he wasn't wearing a dress during that session. But Lil Wayne, in the entire way that he raps, is literally like the pop vegetable. It sounds outdated. It sounds trash. An example of an MC that today rhymes with the pop vegetable, like, is Dave East. So it sounds outdated, but not Buck Wild, what's good with T-Pain? I mean, that should tell you enough. I mean, just T-Pain's existence on a song though is an outdated pop vegetable. You don't need those vegetables in that meal. You know what I'm saying? It just makes so, like I expected, all of AZ's albums. If you're a collector of AZ, if you heard, uh, the quick albums that he did, the very quick ones like Legendary, or if you heard the really quality ones, AWOL, Format, Asiatic, if you go back to Nine Lives, which really has some great songs, they're all afflicted with the pop vegetables. It's just that now he uses the same pop vegetables that he was using on Nine Lives, and he still uses them today on Do or Die too. So it could make things sound outdated, and that's the only problem. But like AZ and Nas, um, honestly, I'm not all the way like blasting it loud. I get a little embarrassed by the some of the shittiness in the pop vegetables that they use. But as far as listening music, though, I could deal with it because I just love the way they rhyme. You know what I mean? And they always have some incredible things to say. So, it's on that level. But that's what I expected. I'm not surprised at all with what I heard. And if somebody says it's like, if they loved it, I get it. If someone says it's the like top albums of the year, there's no way that with what Nas and AZ did with their albums, though. It's what they have musically that makes it absolutely not top tier. There's just so many albums out there with music that is so much more progressive, and next level. And but that's what people say. Like, people still think that Griselda has the most progressive music today. It doesn't even make sense. They're a retro band. It's a retro band. But hope that makes sense. But indeed, no. So I definitely understood what you said. I'm expounding before you got to it. So that's right. Mind predates nature. Other things seen. This is how I see it. All right. Okay. Pumpkin heads for the yeah. All right. Oh, get a Google Classroom to get a visual of the students. Uh, maybe down the line. Maybe down the line. The reason, God, that I don't use the Google Classroom or the Zoom is because I'm still trying to teach in the classroom and fill up the physical classroom. You know what I'm saying? Um, and and honestly, I kind of like the chat because I like you writing. I like everybody writing. Writing is a lost art. You know? Yeah, I fixed the date, so people now will get the right date. It's all good. By the way, the click a like and dislike shit, I don't give a shit about. You know what I mean? I don't care. You know, this YouTube has got the most fakest people here, and I've had trolls. Like, I never had a troll before until I was on YouTube. You know, nobody was stepping into the classroom and sitting down and trolling me and saying shit. They would never do that. You know, they would never do that. Um, right, but see what you said, King Kamal, Do or Die, because it sounds dated. It honestly, it probably is musically. You know, it's just that AZ has probably been collecting this album over a long time. In fact, what makes it even sound more dated, and I'll tell you why. Like, you got to be an AZ collector. If what was it? I don't see. I'm cheating with Wikipedia. It's not there. Let me see. I'll tell you in a minute. What album am I thinking about? Yeah, compare that to the Do or Die 15th anniversary edition that he did with Static Selector. You know, Static Selector is pretty much retro boom bap too, but it's definitely modernized and updated and sounds more modern than what we get here. So that anniversary edition, 15th anniversary edition, which is from what year? 2010. That album musically sounds more up to date than this. You know, and it wasn't all Static Selector, but it had like guys that were upcoming in the late 2000s, like Moss and Fame did a beat and Static, Frank Dukes, you know, who's okay, you know, make some good stuff, decent stuff. But I don't have a problem with it because I'm not surprised by it. Cuban Links 2, though, it logically could be continued if he did it right, and Raekwon did, because Cuban Links has a theme. I don't think an album that doesn't have a real theme can go. King's Disease cheats because it does have a theme, because Nas is rhyming as someone that has now at a different pinnacle of life where he's like a millionaire. And unlike Jay-Z, he's actually giving insights to that reality of what it is like to live that reality, as opposed to just, you know, Scrooge McDuck swimming in his money. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, the Hit Boy music, because it becomes a unique aspect of it too. And I would have to say is a negative thing, because, you know, Hit Boy is just not on that level, you know? I don't care whether we enjoy the album or not, there's no, you know, there's no way Hit Boy is on that level to be that good, you know, to be doing an album, you know? There's not one. I would love to hear people's. I haven't heard anybody tell me that they rewound any song KD or KD2 because they just need to hear that beat longer. You know, maybe one or two of them would, but not where you were like, you know. And honestly, a lot of Nas albums, though, he does have like one or two beats that are really next level. You know, like to me with Salam Remy, he always had something. You know, honestly, I would love to see Nas's new albums be 100% done by Salam Remy. I think he does his best work with him, because it comes out understated and yet musically unique. You know, but that's my opinion. What's wrong with brunch on Sunday? Eesh. Again, I enjoy it though. You know what I mean? It was nice though that Russell Westbrook wasn't wearing a dress though at the brunch though. Good looking. Yeah, I don't think that AZ and OC. I don't think that they were done dirty by the masses. I think they were done dirty by the labels. You know, because they're more thinkers. You gotta be more of a thinker. The only thinker that rhymes today in the mainstream is Nas. So he does, no matter what. One of the reasons that we root for Nas Extra is because we know he doesn't belong there, and it's just so dope to see him there. Oh man, I don't. Well, lyricist anyone could be, as far as technically gifted. If we talk about lyricist is a loaded term, but the short answer would be yes. Papoose is better than Fat Joe on that, but Fat Joe always had ability to make a good song, whereas of Papoose, he's too formulaic in his songs, and then when he does make stuff, he obsesses over the concept so much that it becomes more of a gimmick. So his song concepts are based on gimmicks, you know, and they're more like watching Guinness Book of World Records, you know, on wax. Sometimes it's not songs. They're not songs to me, you know. Now, of course, Fat Joe mutates that an ability to make songs and makes, you know, pop songs. But and Papoose, we could say he doesn't have pop songs, but that's because he doesn't know how to make them. It doesn't mean that he's not trying. So that's also another reason. That's why I'm not, you know. the best of Fat Joe's catalog I like more than Papoose' best. You know, and some of that is cheap because a chunk of that involves Big Pun. So you know, it's kind of cheap. They're making good music here, Kareem. You know, and it might be a little outdated or forcing the issue, but they always did that. They always put stuff in their music that we didn't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? And in their mind, it probably to them it's probably why other people will listen to it, and that's probably true too. You know, so you know who knows? Yeah, yeah. I'm about to blow up though. I need more trolls then, right? I think I only got like two. So I don't know where Joe. I don't know where. I never heard that honestly in any industry cipher I've been in. That Fat Joe blackballed Papoose. Never heard that. That's total rumor though. That's not no way. You know. I don't like rating music, King. I hate rating music. You know, especially by giving numbers though. But let's just say this though: I would never buy Hit Boy. I wouldn't. There's very few instrumentals on King's Disease 1 and 2 that I would go to. You know, I don't really know. I don't know. You know, King's Disease 1, maybe Blue Benz. I thought that was a really great beat. I mean, spicy is disgusting. You know, anytime you make songs that only could be where the video can only be done in Washington Heights, you know, you probably made pop trash. You know, um, but Hit Boy isn't a bad producer. It's the vegetables he's throwing in. But I think he has one thing about Hit Boy. Let me tell you why Hit Boy works with us, and for that you got to give him credit. Um, he's not a great producer, but he's not a great musician or to me beat maker at all. He's very low on the beat making, but he knows how to produce for Nas though. I thought the stuff he did for Benny the Butcher was horrible, but I'm not a big Benny the Butcher fan at all. I think Benny the Butcher might be one of the most overrated MCs in the underground. You know, one of the most overrated I've ever heard. I don't, you know, and that doesn't mean he's whack. It just means he's overrated. You know, um, yeah, Wiz Khalifa. I don't know why we're even. Why is that even? Yeah, Wiz Khalifa. I don't even put him in hip hop. He's not. That's pop music. You know, it's children's pop. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. 793rd. Yeah, you know they didn't promote it, and you know, one thing that Nas has a gift for is that we know he's complex because we're listening, but a lot of times Nas doesn't sound as smart as you. He sounds. He doesn't sound as smart as he really is often on a song, which is very difficult to do. You know what I mean? I agree with you. Process. That's what Nas' first commercial hit did. Az did that. Um, I think what I liked about Hit Boy is that he gives Nas a nice groove. And if Nas is sharing great ideas, even in the Brunt song, man, Nas rhymes really well on that, you know? So there you go. Yeah, well, get your pocket. Everybody, Primo Beats. Woof. I remember what J Live told me they cost way back in 1999. So they yeah. Everything Planet Asia does is incredible. So yeah, the new one is dope too. Uh, ouch. Yeah, King, come on, you funny. Rhyme sayers. You know what? That's a big click. I don't. Who's on the rhyme sayers? You know. I mean, I never was into rhyme sayers like that. All of them, So nah. But a lot of the rhyme sayers guys, they're from the 2000s though. And they had a good cult. They didn't need me to write about them, and I didn't have the forums to write about them. You know? But no, I don't think I've met anybody in the rhyme sayers. Yep, that's right. That's right. You know what I mean? Yeah, I never cared for them though. I didn't think they were whack. I just didn't care for them. So I never would have looked for them anyway to interview them. But they were in the 2000s. Rhyme sayers like Aesop and them. They Brother Ali. They had so many forums that they were given on the underground to express themselves. You know. Company Flow. I mean, that was an incredible group. You know what I mean? Funk Crusher Plus. That was a great album. Why wouldn't I like Company Flow? Right? Evidence is dope. Yeah, but like I said, Evidence. if I had the forms, right? Because remember, too, the Dark Ages was real. Like it was hard to get forms, but the internet was bustling for certain people. Um, and most of rhyme sayers, they had no problem finding their niche markets. You know what I mean? So they didn't need anybody like me to write about them. You know what I mean? They'll still come. I know ASAP Rock still comes out with albums, and so does Brother Ali came out with an album this year too. You know? And I think they're okay. I don't have no problem with them. I don't think they're top tier. And I think ASAP Rock is a little bit overrated, you know. But white MCs, that's always the case with white MCs, you know. The ones that are not great, as great, they get overrated. No, no, not really, not really. But Brooklyn costs too much, you know. I enjoy where I'm at now. All right, give me a moment. All right, I will come back. Get some good questions. All right, what do we have? Nice. Hikari, why would you know? You know what's interesting is that all the hip hop stuff I do, shows I make are in Medina. You know, Bushwick particularly. You know, again, I love Medina. You know what I mean? But honestly, I really enjoy living out here in Staten Island. Though, you know what I mean? Where I'm at, though, I'm away from everything, and I have a wonderful place to train and train people. Um, so it has its a lot of greenery. A lot of places where I could be alone. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really interested in that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I live in Staten Island, or I don't live in Shaolin. If you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Not I'm not in Shaolin. That is something different. King, that's really hard, man. And people don't. I've done hundreds of interviews. You know what I mean? I mean, there are interviews that were important. Like the easiest ones to remember are the ones that are important to my career. You know what I mean? Like early on, Cool G Rap, early on, Killer Priest. Those are very important because I didn't really know I could do this, and having Cool G Rap give me such great idea, great commentary and answers. It made me realize, I could really do this. On that level, because I at the time I thought like maybe I could really write about this music, but if I can't communicate with the artist, then it really impairs the worthiness of me writing about the music itself. So that was a big deal. I mean, I had like a 3-hour build with KRS-One, so those are definitely memorable. With Killer Priest, it was mainly not the build because I kept most of it. When I wrote it, I lost it a long time ago, but it was really the way he supported what I was doing. Um, that was a big deal. I've only met AZ once, and I met him at a show improved maybe 2 years ago. Right, the god Trueborn Myala was walking him around, and thankfully introduced him to me. Um, right, which is an honor itself, right? That I'd be somebody that he would want, that AZ ought to be introduced to. Um, right? Allah will. I don't know your comments. I screamed, "Babe!" Did you see his face? I don't know what that means. I don't know who you're talking to here. D Moore, tell me something about yourself, D Moore 76. Let me know who you are. Let me know who you are. I don't mind building on a degree though, but it's a little mystery god there. You know what I mean? A little mystery god there. Let me know who you are. Okay. But in this decade, since 2010, when I really had open forum and no constrictions, I've interviewed pretty much everybody that everybody listens to now that is dope. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to say the most memorable. That a lot of people will define it by who they think is their best favorite artist or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know if I define it that way. um, So that's something. I mean, this year alone, I've interviewed 32 artists. You know what I mean? That's just this year alone. You know, and I would say, and people that know my work, I think that 90% of those are definitive interviews. You know what I mean? So, you know, yeah, I'm the one that's left 793rd. You know what I mean? And I don't need to say I'm the best. You know what I mean? But if somebody asks me, you know, I got that. I got that. I got that work. Tell me otherwise. You know what I mean? Show me somebody. You know? Um, I don't. Everybody that I want to interview, I pretty much get. Like I want to interview the artists that are really coming up, the next level guys. You know what I mean? I love people like interviewing people like Rome Streets and stuff. And some people I try to get like I've if you follow my work, I've always interviewed Ka early on in his career and not anymore. But I, me and Ka are peace, like he literally told me like that he's not doing interviews anymore. He felt like he said everything he had to say. Um, Obviously, as a journalist, I disagree with that, but I don't disagree with the fact that he's felt that he said everything he's going to say. You know, um, and then like before, early on in the class, I was mentioning RZA. I would love to interview RZA, but that's only because I know that there are certain things that honestly that only I would ask him, and that probably only I would even have a background to ask. You know, whether it's the martial arts reality, the ancient texts that he clearly knows a lot about. If you really understand his lyrics, the ancient Asian text, Taoist, Buddhist text, um, and just the knowledge itself. And being that um, it's one of the greatest musical minds. I think the greatest producer of all time, because I judge a producer based on the amount of classic albums that they make, and the uniqueness of their sound and their ability to make progressive stuff. Even at RZA's most experimental, he makes things you never heard before. Still, even though it comes with some doozies. Oh yeah, that was a fun song to make for them. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I was always there. I never left. I've been here since '94. I never left hip hop, but I just couldn't get into the forums. For many reasons. Many reasons. You know, um, especially in the 2000s. But once 2012 came, nobody could get in my way. You know what I mean? You know? And we'll see. I have I have there's one book I have that I expect to definitely come out this year. It's already done. I'm just waiting on the cover, and and then I have another book that I'm working on now that is going to be that is definitely needs to come out this year. Like it actually needs to. So you know, my focus has always been on the music. So there have been artists that I've interviewed, R&B artists and all that kind of stuff on the up and coming. Probably the biggest non hip hop music artist that I ever did was trying to think. As far as an official piece, probably Tats Crew. Specifically the trio of Bio, Nicer, and BG 183rd. And I literally went to Hunts Point and had a great time. I have pictures from that too. Still, you know, that was a great one. Maybe I'll write that up from the print sheet and share that one day. Yeah. You know? But I'm trying to think of other music because I have done interviews of other people of other music. Yeah, Touch Crew. And you know what? They were great, man. They were great. You know what's funny? Nicer is called Nicer, but he is a really nice guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he was really nice to me. You know what I mean? And they're just great, superior talents. You know, and they give back to the community. Great guys. Yeah. Most of the other genres I've ever covered, they really became personal builds with them and not really interviews that I shared because I didn't have a forum, you know. So like in the early 2000s, I used to build a lot with Willie Colon, and we just lost touch because he literally became overtly right wing. So you know, was on his pro Trump and all that kind of stuff. So he uh, he blocked me from Twitter when after I reconnected with him. He, you know, then he just blocked me. So it is what it is. You know, that's his own shit. But you know, yeah, yeah. Hmm. A real legend, a real legend. You know? You know, in my heart, I don't think that. I think that a lot of our other genres got really well covered, though not covered enough. But I don't think. I think hip hop has been the most disappointing, and that's why I work so hard at it too, because um, it has more of our people covering it and doing a worse job, and that's because you know they never did it. You know, they did it because it was you know, we get to exploit it because it's ours. You know, it's that kind of mentality. You know, white journalists have shown more respect to Rasta um, when dealing with reggae than our own people have done the 5% when it comes to uh, you know, hip hop journalism. Yeah, you know, and let me tell you something, King. You know, he's a legend, and I've never deleted his music. I mean, that's what he thinks. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of things. You know, like we have to realize that like a lot of times when people do that right wing stuff, they're just trying to protect their own. You know, they want to be as American as possible, and that's the route that they go. You know, right? That's not necessarily like that they hate their own people and nothing like that. You know, even though that's what how it manifests. You know what I mean? It's the Kanye salsa. I don't. Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you something. As far as salsa music, Eddie Palmieri and Willie Colon are the two juggernauts. You know what I mean? You know, Kanye's not even in that wheelhouse to be that as important in hip hop as Willie Colon is to salsa. It's not even close. You know? But that's kind of funny that you said that. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, I'm a real collector. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have complete collections. So I have, not only do I have every Hector Lavoe record, which includes all the records, albums he did with Hector Lavoe, who's my favorite of all time. I have all the Willie Colon solo albums, but I also have every single album that Willie Colon ever produced for. So I go, man, my collection goes as deep as having like the Conspiracion records, you know, like Conspiracion, this group that was like the conspiracy, and they were like militant, like, but musically it just sounded um, what salsa was for most people, like an updated song, a jazz song, and it was very, and the lead singer was Cuban, so it didn't really musically it wasn't like militant like that, but that was the name of the group. But albums that he produced for Ismael Miranda, even though I have a complete Ismael Miranda collection up to through the, I stopped with certain people at once we get into the 80s, but Willie, I pretty, you know what's a crate? Willie Colon with Mon Rivera, you know, yeah, that's a real crate right there. A lot of people don't have that record. Mm-hmm. But Willie's instrumental album, a lot of people don't have that. You know, that fell by the wayside. El Baquín de Angelito Negro. Yeah, I'm telling you, I got good crates. I got good salsa crates. You know, how many people have Sophie's album? You know what I mean? That he produced. You know, not just the Ruben Blades albums that they did together. You know, yeah, I got a lot of stuff, man. Oh, Soledad Bravo. That's another sister that he produced for. You know, all the albums he did with Celia, you know, Celia Cruz, you know. There's a lot of stuff I got. I got a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? But as far as collections, right? In salsa, my stuff is deep. Like if you name any legend, I have a complete collection of them. If you name a legend, I have a complete collection of them. And if they're alive farther, I usually stop deliberately because I don't care for like certain artists after the 80s or into the 90s. But if we're talking about their peaks of the 70s, I have complete collections, you know. Right? Like Celia, you know, like I have all the Celia Tito Puente albums. I have all the Celia, I have a lot of Celia solo, every Johnny Pacheco ones he did, you know. Yeah, man. Reggaeton. I don't know. I think I heard that beat before. That's why. Tito Puente. Yeah. I don't know how many albums of his I got, but I know I have at least 500 songs of Tito Puente. It's a lot of albums. Yeah. You know why I don't like reggaeton? Let me tell you why I'm so anti-reggaeton, right? Besides it being a shitty music with one beat that they keep exploiting. Um, in the mid '90s, hip hop was getting into Puerto Rico, like really hardcore hip hop. They're finally getting to it, and they started when hardcore hip hop started getting in there, and it started to become more popular. What happened was, and I'm simplifying greatly because we're trying to get to the destruction. Um, Instead of producers getting into the grit of sampling, which would entail them digging into crates, and if they find the crates that like salsa crates and things of their own, you know, like their own homes and bomba plena and stuff, which would be harder to sample in the breakbeat vein because you would have to innovate something really dope, which could really be done and still and sometimes is done. Um, they didn't. So the point being though is that they went the simpler way. You know, they just took hip hop and then made a party version of it. And that wasn't what was being done in Puerto Rico only. But that party version though just exploited one type of beat, the dembow, and then eventually in exploiting one type of break, you end up having just one type of content, which is just party of the most frivolous kind, you know? And people dismiss it as like, oh, that's the way Latin music is. It's about the party and stuff like that. Not true, man. Most song music, salsa music is enveloped in the concept of a party, right? That's what they're singing about. Like, this is the party jam, but it's in the context of something always, a lot of times within the song, whether the skill of the sonero, which is the singer, right? And the ad libs he gives, which are always rhymed, right? And often off the head if he's doing it live, you know. So a lot of the artistry and the jazz solos and all that, you know, makes it something more than just, you know, simple party music. You know, it makes it profound, makes it a combination of party and a listening music as well, which is very rare. You know, salsa had something that was very rare because when a music genre, which we all love, when it becomes a listening music, like jazz becomes a listening music by the 50s, it usually doesn't have like a vibe where you could really dance to it. You could go to a club and enjoy it, but you know, you're not dancing to like Miles Davis's, you know, 1950s records, you know, but you are listening to them, you are grooving to them, you know, like, but straight out dancing, salsa will do that, you know, like the peak of lyricism with Ruben Blades. But you know, that's what it is. That's why I hate reggaeton. And why wouldn't I hate like something that catapults horrible MC? Right? Yeah. Allah will. You really like to have random comments here, but yeah, Paquito de Rivera. Yeah, was he? No, I don't think he. I don't remember him being sax. No, 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 no. Okay, that's right. He was okay because he was also a clarinetist too. Okay, that was more in the Latin jazz though. That wasn't really in the salsa era. You know, not that he wasn't dope. He was definitely dope. But a lot of his known albums are from the '90s on because they were really Latin jazz records. You know what I mean? And Latin jazz just became more of a more back to a more refined level of play. You know, not as grimy and also without the griminess of the lyrics that salsa at its peak had. You know, so it was definitely a separation from that. All right, what do we got here? What do we have here? Well, that's peace. That's peace. Didn't know that. Didn't know that 7-8 I don't. You know what? Most of the bossa nova records I have are usually artists that didn't do bossa nova and getting into it. So like you mentioned Tito Puente, I have like his forays into bossa nova and stuff. For example, I think I have like a Kenny Burrell, who's one of my favorite jazz guitarists. Like he did a bossa nova record. It's usually but I usually didn't care for them. You know what I'm saying? I got Quincy Jones did a bossa nova record. I have that album. You know what I mean? Like, but I didn't care for that. I didn't care for it that much. I really didn't. You know. Hmm. Yeah, you gotta. I think the best way to really listen to any genre is to like research the best and then find their albums. Then you go on YouTube and find particular albums. You know. Yeah, yeah. Willie Colon did not innovate the trombone in the salsa band, you know, where it overpowers and has that overpowering nature. It was actually Eddie Palmieri with Barry Rogers being that trombone. But Willie Colon gave it a blare that overpowered everything. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made it important. Yeah, man. I've been collecting a long time, you know? Yeah, man. One of the greatest, you know, that for a long time, I don't know if it still holds, the Siembra, where that Maria Leonza comes from, was the greatest selling salsa album of all time. Jude, you said Dan Tien, GB, CB Chi, and Central Nervous. How can ancient know which is which or if it ever exists? You know, with the Chi Kung, right? And the Dan Tien, it's about to get that Chi activated, it takes imagination for initiation. You know what I'm saying? So you have to feel it first, you know. But everything I've read though, that Dantian area is right there, you know what I mean, above the waistline, right below the navel, you know. Right. I'm clueless. Allah will. What does that mean? Look, sound all this time. I don't know what that means. You've lost track of complete sentences. Uh, Let me know. Like, how can I? You know. Similar to chakras, yeah. Third eye sounds like dealing with mystery. Um, I think in their interpretation for many people, yeah. I mean, and who's to say that it isn't? You know what I'm saying? These are their ancient ways of dealing with it. So it could be, you know, the way we build with third eye, like, or that we people see it is having a more discerning ability to discern and critically think. That's not really always what, you know, many of the ancients were teaching. You know what I mean? So, just like sometimes we when we analyze our ancient people's cultures, sometimes we try to find everything not to be a mystery or to be like what we see is the truth. And that may not be the case. They may not deal with it like that. You know what I mean? However, we probably can use it that way, and even, dare I say, appropriate it that way. Interesting history, 793rd. You better start writing in your journal. Uh, yes and no. That's not why do you think that was estimated? Why do you think that was estimated? That's not in the 2 million Indians. You know what I mean? Like, in a decimation of America, that could be the case. Like, the point is that those numbers don't have to be accurate. And to tell you the truth, they really can't. There was so much. There was so much. Mixing of cultures, of names, of lineages between the so-called Africans that were here and the original Americans, those indigenous. So the 2 million Indians, it was really more of a show of the power and the magnitude of you know of that, as far as like less indigenous people and the power of indigenous people being corrupted by decimation and genocide so long. You know, yeah, but yeah, I still think Kareem, you get your jazz by learning, find the classic albums, the classic artists, and look for their best works. That's the always the best way to dig for music. Find a legend. You know what I mean? And if you found legends, then find everybody else under him and look for their best albums, and then branch off from there. Go by album. You know. Yeah. Well, I will. I don't know why you're saying wow, so I don't really know. Well, he Kareem, what would be black jazz for you? I mean, everything, like I don't know what that means. 'Cause I don't really know of any jazz that's not black. You know, what do you mean by sound instrument? Like, what does that mean? I hope 793rd knows the answer to that. Hmm. This is true. This is true. Definitely Dominicans. Yeah. Yeah, this is where you have to. I'll tell you this though, right? All music gets appropriated, so and used and gets attached to other things. Like a lot of times, like um, a lot of jazz you'll play is really quality shit and really next level, but it gets so associated. You think it's elevator music, So like, I'll give you an example. Like I mentioned Kenny Burrell. A lot of jazz guitar sounds like elevator music, but some of that stuff is the most innovative stuff you'll hear and really bluesy. So you have to, you have to get the difference. Like let me give you something. I'll tell you what to search for and see my point. Because you might miss out on the beauty of something because of the perception. And remember, to really understand jazz and a lot of music, but definitely jazz, is you got to get out of the one, not you, but one would have to get out of their perception, you know, of what it sounds like, because it will be appropriated. But check out this album, the Midnight Blue album by Kenny Burrell. You know, beautiful album, but it sounds like something that, yeah, you could probably hear that in the elevator. You know what I mean? Or one of my favorites, a lot of George Benson music. You know what I mean? And he made a lot of different kinds of music. He made a lot of more pop and R&B, and he did everything. But he was very jazzy, and did a lot of jazz and kept doing jazz even while he did R&B. So he'll have albums where he'll do just R&B, and then he'll have a jazz song, like, you know, right? That's why I said research the artist that you're dealing with, though, so you can understand. You know, the ear for jazz is much more complex. That's why, like, hip hop. Most hip hop doesn't really sample jazz. Most hip hop is sampling jazz funk and funk jazz. A lot of the samples on Low End Theory are not really jazz. So a lot of it is, but a lot of it is funk jazz. which is dope to me too. I love it all. You know, right? If you want something really like that kicks it in high, I love a lot of uh, uh, I love a lot of soul jazz. So look for a lot of organ jazz or organ music. Organ players in jazz. Like look up some Jimmy Smith, who's one of my favorite. You know, start with I'm just writing in parentheses this album, Back at the Chicken Shack. You know, mess with Jimmy Smith. I have a ton of albums from him. Hear different things. You know what I mean? There's a lot of eras in jazz to mine and stuff. Miles Davis himself gives you totally different eras because he innovated a lot of the fusion that you see. Most of the different styles of jazz, like a lot of them, he nearly single-handedly invented them. So just Miles Davis alone, though, give you a whole tour of jazz music history. You know, like for me, I love Duke Ellington. I have a huge Duke Ellington collection, but a lot of Duke Ellington to music sounds like Tom and Jerry music to me. But they played a lot of that stuff in Tom and Jerry, and that's that era. You know, so that's a good thing for me because it reminds me as a kid. But that's what it is. You get you the associations we have aren't always the answer of the quality of the music. You know, and expanding your palette though also allows you to expand your palette though and what you read and what you listen. From what you listen to. You know, yeah, Al Jarreau stuff. Yeah, like Al Jarreau is really he's definitely somebody that is an acquired taste stuff. You know what I mean? Remember that song that Nas did called Al Jarreau and they didn't like the flow? He did it exactly the way Al Jarreau would do it, and that's why it's hard to, people were hard to take to it because Al Jarreau's an acquired taste. You know, I like Al Jarreau, but I don't always. I usually don't listen to him, even though I have his records. Like I told you, I collect a lot of shit. Interesting sax players to get into. It's King. You said Turrentine is my favorite. Because I love a lot of soul jazz. Coltrane, obviously, Bird, Coltrane and Bird. They're the best. But also Coleman Hawkins and um, Sonny Rollins. I love, man. Sonny Rollins is amazing. You know. Oh yeah, Donald Byrd. Yeah, I have a big Donald Byrd collection too. Yeah, yeah, man. When I say big collection, I'm talking about like at least a lot of these guys. Every legend I'm talking about, I have at least 30 or 40 albums of them. You know what I mean? So Donald Byrd definitely have about 30 albums. You know, definitely. But yeah, jazz has so many flows. You know what I mean? So many things to mind, and you know, you talk about sax too. I said Donald Byrd, but well, Donald Byrd is trumpet, but who's the guy that's we're just keeping it on sax though. But Donald Byrd is trumpet, but who's the guy I was thinking about? No, why am I forgetting his name? No, wait, Donald. Wait a minute, I am getting it wrong. Oh, Donald Byrd is trumpet. Yeah, yeah. Lou Donaldson is the one that you might be getting confused with there. Lou Donaldson, trumpet. Byrd is trumpet. Lou Donaldson was sax. You know, Grover Washington Jr. There's a if you're trying to get into jazz, right? You get with the guys that are funky, that did a lot of funk jazz, but also played that real jazz in all those records and more. Um, is Grover Washington Jr. You know what I mean? I love his whole catalog, man. Yeah. Yeah, boy, we really veered away from the knowledge here, even though I don't mind, teaching about. One of my most important lessons is about the diversity of how we expose ourselves, and if we can expand our palette, then we can expand our palette and how we look at the lessons, how we look at life, how we build and develop our understanding, so it's very important. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you a lot of the guys that like are legends and samples with funk jazz, like Grover Washington Jr., Herbie Hancock, and others, they really had Donald Byrd would count there. A lot of those records that are sampled aren't necessarily jazz records; they're jazz funk records. Their earlier work is more pure jazz, and they're all great records. So it's fun to hear a catalog and shuffle a catalog of people like Herbie Hancock that has so much diversity in it. Same with Miles and stuff. These artists weren't just one thing. You know, Chuck Mangione. I don't know if I know who that is. Oh, Mangione. Okay, no, I don't have any of his albums. No, I mean, I'm sure I have a lot of Art Blakey records, so I know he's on some of them, but I never got it. I never got his solo records. I never explored him solo. Most of my favorite jazz is the soul jazz, hard bop records. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you want some a jazz that's like really, if you actually want jazz that isn't like funk but actually is hard, like Art Blakey records do it. You know what I mean? Definitely not elevator jazz, but it's not funk jazz. It's soul jazz. It's not. It's hard bop. Yeah, yeah. But don't discount like the smooth elevator shit. You know, a lot of that stuff is really really intricate. That's the thing about jazz, though. It's about improvisation. So you see people's unique intricacies. You know, and it doesn't have to be what you think. You know, like your perceptions. You know. That speaks good. You know what I mean? That speaks very interesting, huh? Weldon Irving is definitely more of a funky jazz. You know, definitely more in the funk jazz realm. You know, definitely it's definitely jazz. There's massive improvisation that he's leading through the funk. You know, uh, and yacht music that has to do with rock. You know, yacht rock music. You know, like you know, which has its good stuff too. They got some stuff too. Yeah, so just so everybody knows, as you reminded, if you skipped or only going to listen to the end of this, I am going to be back at a law school in Mecca physically in October 7th. Now, rearranging my schedule so it could be more efficient. I'm going to be teaching absolutely from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock every Thursday. If I have students in the physical classroom, I will be teaching from 5 to 8. However, if I don't have students in the physical classroom once 7 o'clock approaches, then I may just leave at 7 o'clock and then add a bonus online hour where I build about a specific issue. Of course, everybody that comes online, I'll answer your questions in that hour, but there'll be specific things that I will go into for that particular hour that will prepare. You know what I mean? So once I get on, I'll be diving right into it though. So whatever questions you have, you just throw it there, and then if I have time left after the build, that way I could start putting certain plus lessons and ideas distinctly, online and stuff. All right. And this also has me go earlier to allow school, which is easier for me. Uh, Allows me to be around Harlem and Mecca, where I think it might be a bit more conducive for people now to go there, be around more youth there, because it's really become a ghost town as far as the schools. So um, everybody in there is a regular, and it's becoming more like Cheers as opposed to a school, for people to come in. So maybe that could help. Right. In Square Circle, right? Stevie's. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of great classics on that. Overjoyed. Yeah, Overjoyed. Yeah. I think You Will Know is on that too, right? Isn't You Will Know on that? Yeah. Listen, if we're talking all this jazz and stuff, that's great, man. But if you don't have any Stevie Wonder albums, though, why don't you go there first? Just saying. Though. Any Stevie Wonder album. Uh, okay, it was I Love You Too Much. That not You Will Know that was in there. But if uh, if you have no '70s albums from Stevie Wonder in your collection, there's a place to start looking and listening, man. You know, absolutely. All good, all good. Yeah, if the more that you dig, the more that your palate will change. You know what I'm saying? Let me know some last questions you might have and stuff. Okay. Yeah, all the physical classes. I'm gonna keep streaming live though. Don't worry about that. They'll just be at different times and stuff. But like if I leave a class from 5 to 7 because no one's in the physical classroom, that extra hour is going to be online in the next day or so. I don't know when. I'll surprise, and I'm just gonna really go into detail about a particular subject. And if you have people come online, whoever's able to come online, you can throw your questions, and I'll try to get it in at the hour after I finish that particular build. You know, and that way, what I'm trying to do is like make all of the hours that I'm doing as efficiently and as useful as possible, instead of a lot of the hours where I feel like I've shared everything I need to with everyone online, and I want people to actually go do something. Sometimes I can't push you out and make you go do stuff, and that's a problem here. You know what I mean? I can only give information and insight. In the classroom, if they're not coming on time after a while, they haven't really come after 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? So if they're not in the classroom by then that's it. What degrees deal with death? I mean, most of the degrees deal with the making of the white man, so it has to do with death, like, and that's not. I'm gonna say you could do stuff like that, but like that's not really how I would categorize anything out of 120 by death or life or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because technically, most of the degrees, the 20s and the 30s, you could associate with death. You know what I mean? Hmm. I think maybe you might be underplaying yourself here, Kareem, with the art of war. Like I've done the martial arts all these years for 20 years, but that's not why the art of war is useful to me. You know what I mean? Um, and I think that to be I'm not saying what level of reader you are, but I'm saying one of the definite levels to be a greater reader is to take certain books that are difficult, that you should have under the belt, which definitely is Art of War, and read completely through it. Because what you need to be writing in your journal about the Art of War is about specific passages and putting into words why they are confusing you. That's something to work on there. You know what I'm saying? All right. So definitely try that. We're past 10 o'clock though, so this class is over. Also, last thing, this is a paying thing, not this class. Everything I share with you is free. The books, the materials, when you come to speak with me through the email or anything, any type of communication, right? But I am teaching martial arts though, and that has rates. So if you're in the New York City area, you can come out to Staten Island. No, I am training in the martial arts, a program that is going to engage you in the martial arts as a lifetime martial artist or someone that is going to train and trying to pick a school to train with and just want that intense introduction of the broad array of what it is. It's all dependent on you. These sessions are definitely affordable, okay? And for many that have been that know the rates, they know that they're pretty much a steal. Um, and it's very inclusive, has great stuff. Um, if you go on my IG, you can see that I know this shit. You know what I mean? If you just need some physical proof. But I am not only teaching those in the New York City area, right? Um, I'm also teaching on Zoom sessions, and I've taught some people on Zoom, and they have been very happy with the results, and what they're learning. Um, so the Zoom sessions are also a possibility for those that are out of New York. And if you're in the New York City boroughs and getting to Staten Island is too hard though, then you could afford the rates, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Like you're doing yourself a disservice because it's worth the travel to what I'm going to teach you. You know what I mean? All right. And it's a lot of investment on my part though. So that's what the compensation is for. You know what I mean? And I get to buy my daughters toys and stuff. You know what I mean? But and King, definitely Art of War is a book to revisit though. See, if you haven't read the Thomas Cleary version and you don't have it though, let me know and I'll give that to you though. That's the best version. But definitely one to revisit every other year or so. You know what I mean? But with that said, if you're interested in the martial arts and training with me and want to know the rates and how that will work, whether you're out of state, in state, let me know. Um, Anything else that you need, books, if you're a new student, you're watching here and you talk to me here, you're not my student to study with me unless you really talk to me outside of this classroom session, whether in the physical or online here. All right. So, get familiar. If you know me online though, you could do the knowledge to any of the stuff that I have and stuff. When we talk about hip hop, so all my stuff, hip hop and all that kind of stuff, any books that I have and I'm about to release, they're all there. if you're interested in all that kind of stuff. Okay. So basically, more efficiency. I love concentrated stuff, giving you a lot of information. Now that it's going to be it's online, it'll be in there for you to rewind and all that kind of stuff. So that's my goal. And that when I go, I can do some. I intend to make it very useful when I'm at law school, not just sitting with the computer at different places talking to all of you here. You know what I mean? So that's really what I'm trying to do. So if anything, it's any confusion and stuff, just contact me. You know what I mean? If you have my number, everybody has my email. If you're on the social media with me, all that is good. Okay. All right. All right. So peace, and continue to build, continue to create, continue to expand that palette musically and literature wise. Peace.